Okay, we're working on a 26-27 Touring, and we're starting the backrest. Our first step was to attach the backrest cover around to the back of the spring, and we've hog ringed that. And then we find center of our upper tack rail and make a mark on the body, as well as finding center down on the lower tack rail. You want to take and center your pleat right on the bottom tack rail and give it one staple or nail right in the seam allowance. Then come up to the top and hang your spring with just a scrap of vinyl or cloth, and we've temporaried that there just to hold the spring in place while we attach the bottom. And we're going to work our way across the bottom, one staple or nail on each seam. Those will be covered with a black painted nail when we're finished. Bring our burlap that's attached to the spring back to the tack rail. And we're not putting a whole lot of pressure on it, we're just pulling it taut. And we're going to staple that, and the purpose here is to create a bed for all this cotton to lay on. If we don't do this, your cotton will keep falling down into the spring and you'll have a hollow crown. So we want to have the ability to create our crown and for it to stay there. So we're closing the gap with the burlap. Okay, we are putting in the backrest and we're bringing our cover up and over the crown. And so what you want to make sure you're doing is you don't want to just compress the spring and pull it back. You want to work all the fullness up from the bottom because we're secured at the bottom. You want to run your hand up, be pulling on the cover, and then compress the spring. If you just simply crunch your spring back and staple, you may end up with a hollow pocket down here. So you want to make sure you're bringing all the fullness up from the bottom and then compress your spring. And I want you to take note of where to staple. We've got a pleat sewn. You want to make sure your staple or your nail goes right through that pleat. That will give integrity to the nail. If you just nailed through the single layer of vinyl, all that pressure would rip right through. Then you're going to start folding your cotton under, and we've torn the cotton off right at the same level as the vinyl cover, and we've gauged it so that you should be able to just roll your cotton underneath like bread dough. Just keep folding it under, and that's going to create that crown. And our burlap is going to hold our crown in place so it doesn't just fall down. And then you want to roll your pleat. See, the stitching line would show if we left it stretched wide like this. So we're going to, on purpose, we're going to fold our pleat over and make sure it's nicely rolled. Okay, so we have stretched our backrest up. The main thing you're watching for is that the lines are coming straight over. And then in your pleat, that's your area on the curvature. That's the area you can take up the fullness of the vinyl. So here we've folded over a good inch to take up some of the fullness. And I like to pleat rather than pucker. And you'll see some puckering here, but none of them are actually folded over puckers. They're just stretched, and with time the sun will melt that vinyl and soften it, and that will straighten out. So we're taking our fullness up in each pleat. There's about an inch here and another 1.5 inches here that has been folded under. Then you're ready to start putting your finishing trim. And you start with a nice cord bead. That's a welt cord edge that goes tight to the body. There's a nice little line in the body to follow. And then over that, you will put the Hightem welt. And the Hightem welt opens so you can nail in the center, and it hides your final nailing. And then we're ready for welt tips.